One of the most important parts of any fantasy ecosystem is the brooding swordsman. You give a guy a traumatizing backstory and a big sword, and you have almost certainly created one of your most popular characters. Their tough guy facade and choice in weaponry is a perfect attraction for the power-scaling son, while their tender soul and deep feelings of wanting to be loved again are perfect for the shipping daughter. Truly, this character is one of the most important you can make. Fire Emblem has had their fair share of brooding swordsmen throughout its history, normally belonging to the Myrmidon class, but Fire Emblem 7 decided that their Myrmidon would be a silly little Gi. Instead, the brooding swordsman falls on the mercenary Raven. Raven's backstory and character serve as a centerpiece for multiple other characters in Fire Emblem 7, so I think it's worth taking a look at him and seeing what he's all about. But before we get started, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, because if you don't, I'll become a brooding swordsman and shove the business end of the sword up your ass.
There is no meme. This is just a threat.
Raven is first spotted in Chapter 16, where he's a mercenary being employed by Cailan, Lynn's country, as they've been attacked by Darin, the oft-forgotten tertiary antagonist of Fire Emblem 7. Cailan's knights are defeated, but Raven asks to fight alongside their attackers, purely because he hears that Hector, the brother to the Lord of Ostia, is among Lynn and Ellawood's ranks, and he really hates him for some reason. Going against the wishes of his partner Lucius, he takes the field as an enemy, only being recruited because you happen to have his long-lost sister Priscilla, who doesn't recognize him at first, but after talking with him, realizes he's her long-lost brother Raymond. Whatever grudge Raven has against Hector, he keeps close to the chest, not telling Priscilla anything about what happened, and when he gets Lucius, refuses to say that he's going to give up his revenge, though again, he doesn't explain what the hell that means. I think Raven's introduction is one of the most solid in the game, for reasons people might not even realize. First of all, with all of the information in FE7 so far, and all of the information in FE6, Ostia is seen as nothing but a really good country. Sure, there's the rebellion in FE6, but constantly Ostia's characters, Lilina, Bors, Oswin, Hector, etc., are seen as good people. So Raven having this blood feud with them is really interesting. You're wondering what the hell could they have done to make him so mad. And on top of that, Raven's partner is Lucius, a man that the player had time to bond with during Lynn's campaign. So even if they don't really care about Hector yet, there's a good chance they use Lucius in the game's prologue, and because of that, are curious to see who this man is that's so close to him. And further still, if you are using Raven because you want to know more about him, you would want to support him with someone. And the two supports that are most important to learning Raven's character are the ones with Priscilla and Lucius, the first two characters the player would think to support him with. It's a really solid introduction. Sure, he's just gonna fade into your barracks and never say anything again if you bench him, but the game has done a perfect job of making you not want to bench him at all, so I think it gets props for that. But even beyond the intrigue of his character, Raven's pretty unbenchable because he's just a damn good unit. He has really good base stats, his growth rates are really good, and he promotes into Hero, which is a really solid class in FE7. And to put the cherry on top, he promotes using the Hero Crest, an item that you really only want to use on Raven, because all the other recipients of it are kind of poop from a butt. So yeah, really solid mystery, really solid unit quality. He is pretty much going to be used on a lot of people's teams when they play FE7, so good for him! So what the hell is up with this guy? Well, his support with Lucius reveals that he was born Raymond, a member of the House of Cornwell, which was a member of the Lycian Alliance of some affluence. However, sometime before the game's beginning, House Cornwell was dissolved, and Raymond's parents were killed. And it's believed that Uther, the leader of Ostia and the largest member of the Lycian Alliance, was the one responsible. So Raymond discarded his name and went by Raven, and was traveling the world hoping to find a way to get revenge at the man he thinks killed his parents. He left with his servant Lucius, who had been a close friend and ally for 10 years of his life, and went to work as a mercenary, where he was eventually hired by Cailan, and then the events of the game happen. It's your fairly standard backstory, but the actual contents of the support are what make it a bit more interesting, as Lucius is trying to be the guy that tells you, oh, if you're going on a journey of revenge, you'd better dig 2 graves. And Raven, almost comically, understands this. He straight up says that if he goes on this quest for revenge, absolutely nothing good will happen. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care if it's going to ruin his life and the lives of people around him. He just wants Uther dead as revenge for killing his parents. It's kind of funny to see someone look at that lesson we've heard a million times and just respond to it with a, yeah, and? As the support goes on, Raven continues to berate Lucius and in general act incredibly rude and obnoxious to him. Eventually, this causes Lucius to snap and basically tell Raven to stop being a giant man-child. Raven finally caves in and admits he was just worried about Lucius. He didn't want the only family he has left getting hurt because of his quest for revenge, and just wanted Lucius out of the battlefield because of that. It's again a fairly standard thing. Like I joked about in the beginning of the video, the brooding swordsman secretly having a heart of gold is like the most basic part of this trope, but that doesn't mean it isn't really well executed. And you get to see Lucius snap. Lucius is one of the sweetest characters in the entire game, so it's interesting to learn that he does have limits. And the end of the support is my favorite part of it, as Raven comes to realize that the reason he was hunting down Uther was because of a rumor that he was responsible. But honestly, it was just a rumor. How much validity could he really think it claimed? This causes him to think about his actions and decide that he's going to find the truth for himself. He's not giving up on revenge, but he's going to find the answers in a manner that isn't destructive to the people he loves around him. And he tells Lucius to stay home, saying that he wants someone there to go back to, and that has fueled Yaoi for 25 years, and will probably fuel it for 25 more. I like that the lesson of Raven's character isn't the typical revenge story moral, but instead a warning against doing something in anger that you can't take back. It's less of a Batman never kill kind of story, and more of a Asgore shouldn't have declared war on humanity kind of story, which is a lesson I think is very important and worth telling. And it's a lesson that's especially important once you learn the truth behind the Cornwell's deaths. See, in the support with Priscilla and Oswin, Oswin reveals that Priscilla and Raven's parents were in a lot of debt. They were taking in all the debts of the countries around them as an act of kindness, but eventually, if you just take everyone's problems for yourself, you're gonna run out of money. And when they ran out of money, they stole it to make up for it. Ostia's role in all of this, and why the rumors of them killing the Cornwells happened, was because they stripped the Cornwells of their peerage after learning of all the debt and stealing that they did. And in response to this, Raven and Priscilla's parents killed themselves, forcing Priscilla to go off with another family, and Raven to go off by himself. And just to make sure that you can't blame Ostia for going after someone who had genuinely kind intentions, the Cornwells also stole a lot more money than they actually owed, showing that they weren't quite as good as they were seeming to be. Don't do something stupid in anger is a very good lesson, and it's one that I think Raven teaches very well. And more than just being immoral, he's an interesting character. His relationship with Lucius is interesting and shows sides to both of them, and Lucius gives Raven his lone paired ending, where Raven goes to Hector and tells him of what he knows, and Hector apologizes and offers to rebuild the Cornwells' home. But Raven refuses, instead moving on with a peaceful heart alongside Lucius. A very simple but sweet ending. Moving on to his support with Priscilla, it follows some similar story beats to the one with Lucius, where Raven acts very standoffish on purpose to try and distance himself from Priscilla so she doesn't get wrapped up in his revenge plot. But there's a bit more added sadness to it. When they first start talking, Priscilla brings up that she's still carrying around a ring that he gave her 10 years ago, saying that he would one day make her his bride. Now I know some of you are about to go, heh, Fire Emblem and incest, am I right? And if you think that, please take a long walk off a short pier. It's actually really sad the more you think about it. A little girl saying that she's gonna marry her brother or father is like one of the first things a 5-year-old girl does, but the fact that Priscilla is still clinging to that ring 10 years later is really upsetting, because it's the only proof she has that her brother still is there for her. Remember, from her perspective, when she was only 6 years old, her parents suddenly died, her brother just vanished, and she was forced into a foster family. And while it is true her foster family love and care about her, that didn't stop her from missing her older brother. And all she had to remember him by was a silly little promise they made when they were children. It's actually a very depressing thought, and I really wanted to bring up what it means to Priscilla's character, because that girl goes through a lot. Not just in backstory, but a lot of her support endings don't end happy for her either. Seriously, someone give that girl a hug, she needs it. Back on track, much like with Lucius, Raven can't hide the true kindness in his heart forever. Priscilla's stubborn refusal to leave his side eventually breaks him, and he admits that he doesn't want to lose her either, and that he wants to stay by her side as a family again. It's a very sweet ending, and the two of them just have their nice little walk into the sunset. No longer just being strangers, but once again Priscilla and Raymond, two siblings who are there for each other through thick and thin. Though for some reason, this support doesn't have a paired ending, which I think is a real missed opportunity. If you pair them up, Raven gets his generic ending, where he just kind of vanishes and is sighted in the town of Arafen. It's a kind of nothing ending for his character. This really was shaping up to be something where the ending would be like, I don't know, I'm not saying he has to be adopted by Priscilla's family, but just anything that says he was still a force in her life. Something similar to Mercedes and Yuritsa's support from Three Houses. But, no, kind of a missed opportunity if you ask me. But still a really solid support with a really solid ending. And I guess technically you could say that just because Raven vanishes from the books of history doesn't mean he just vanished from Priscilla's life, but I don't know, I feel like they could have had something more concrete. His last serious support is with Rebecca. It starts simple and cute enough. Raven helps her with her bow, and she kinda just starts crushing on him, thinking he's cute and wanting to pay him back for the kindness he showed her, eventually hunting down some food for him to eat. It's a very simple support for the most part, but at the very end it becomes pretty serious, with Rebecca saying that Raven's a nice, handsome guy, and she starts to remember her long-lost brother Dan, saying that he vanished 5 years ago and never returned. She's afraid that he absolutely abandoned her and just doesn't want her in his life anymore, and Raven reassures her, saying, quote, "There must have been something else keeping him from returning home. Maybe it's just his fool pride, huh? But no matter what happens, there's no way he could forget you, Rebecca. No matter how far away he is, he's thinking of you always. That's what brothers do." Not only is this a very good moment of Raven comforting someone, again showing the tender heart that lies behind his gruff exterior, but it's a pretty obvious moment of what he's saying to Rebecca isn't in the perspective of Dan. He's saying that as himself, as he's seeing his relationship with Priscilla through Rebecca. By saying that Dan would never forget her, and that he thinks the reason for it's his own foolish pride, he's really showing what he thinks about his life situation. It's not a very complicated parallel to see, but I actually really like these kind of scenes, so I wanted to bring it up. It's also kind of funny that he says that Dan will never forget Rebecca, when the whole thing is that Dan has amnesia and is going around as a pirate named Dart. I just think it's very funny to specifically mention memory when amnesia is the entire problem. But hey, still a good support. His supports with Bartray and Will are very simple and comedic in nature, not really worth bringing up in an analysis sense. His support with Bartray is about Bartray being stupidly annoying, Raven wants to die, and we laugh at his expense. And his support with Will is about Will being pleasantly annoying, and Raven wants to die, and we laugh at his expense. Nothing really serious, just goofy supports to kind of balance out all the serious stuff in his other supports. Raven really is one of the most solid characters in FE7, and there are a lot of solid characters in FE7. Solid backstory, solid character development, likable supports. He really has everything you could want from a GBA Fire Emblem character. If you want to learn more about him, I strongly recommend giving his supports a read-through. They're really good, and I can't recommend them enough. And before we go, I just want to say, as a man from Baltimore, Maryland, Raven's choice in thing to name himself after is just the correct option. All hail the Raven and its beautiful, beautiful football team. Oh, and the bird too, I guess. I would like to thank you guys very much for making it to the end of another character analysis video. I'm doing these more infrequently than I used to be, I know, but I have been making a video series that's almost an hour long every single episode, so please, cut me some slack. If you enjoyed this video, please consider joining my Discord server. The link to it's in the description below, and you're currently looking at people from it. We all like to have a good time there, and it's a great time if you consider joining. I'd appreciate it. Or don't. I'm not a cop. And before we go, I would like to thank my Patreon subscribers, which you can join with the link in the description below, and you will be greatly appreciated by me. I swear from the bottom of my heart. My patrons include the likes of Adebayo Thompson, Alex Orliga, Amuse not beating the Tails allegations, Andrew Crockett, Bean Juice, Benz again, Dr. McBackstab, Hell on Heelys, Jay Hun, Jespacito 2, Larmachi, Lysevening Bolt, Marth Warcriminal, Morga Lorgan, Plaid Arrow, played is pronounced like the pattern, Ranger Man Sam, Shen Lu, Viri the Artist, Yugirl Olwyn, Brentendo 11, Drew Hack, Fire Emblem Lord, Ginger, Gugu Gaga, Cornelia Milkers 92, Inverse, Lev Maverick, Maple Knight, and Upscale Furry Trash. Thank you all for your continued support, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Change the world. My final message.